call for Muslims in Europe to be shot. A woman in South Carolina blames ghosts for her mother's murder, and the Satanic Temple gets the Phoenix City Council to drop prayer before opening sessions. This is SkyWatch TV for Wednesday, February 17th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First, some thoughts on the death of Justice Antonin Scalia. I talked about this yesterday, said that I rejected the idea of the conspiracy, that foul play might have been involved in the death of Justice Scalia. Natural causes, age 79, history of health issues. It seemed pretty open and shut. But now some people are weighing in who aren't normally given to speculating on conspiratorial causes for death, specifically homicide investigators from Washington, D.C. and New York City, said that the way this is handled was a bit irregular. A judge in Presidio County, Texas, declared Justice Scalia dead based on what she was told over the telephone by law enforcement officials and U.S. Marshals, who said that there was no sign of foul play. However, we do know that a pillow was found over Justice Scalia's head. Now, there's not going to be an autopsy, which seems a bit unusual. Certainly that would indicate whether the pillow was used to smother Justice Scalia. And the detectives say that this is, in fact, irregular. Yes, again, he does have a history of medical issues, and he was 79 years old, but he died with no one present at the time of his passing, and he was a sitting justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. More investigation was warranted. So, this is me walking back my statement from yesterday. It does appear something irregular in the death of Justice Antonin Scalia. But the political aspect of his death now takes center stage. In the Middle East, reports from unnamed sources in Turkey indicate that the Turkish government is trying to line up support for a ground invasion of Syria. And not just Saudi Arabia, as I mentioned yesterday, but the United States and U.S. allies, presumably NATO members from Western Europe. Now, given the long and hostile history between the governments of Turkey and Syria, and Turkey's ongoing bombardment of Kurdish positions in northern Syria, just have to wonder if President Erdogan of Turkey is really interested in going after the Islamic State, or if this is just cover for him to go in and take down the government of Bashar al-Assad and install a friendlier one in Damascus. The price of oil not likely to go down anytime soon, which is great. Fill up the gas tank at $1.19 a gallon. We've seen that price here in the Ozarks here within the last few days. Not so great for U.S. oil producers or the banks that have loaned money to oil producers based on the value of property that produces oil. Saudi Arabia and Russia Monday agreed to freeze oil production at their current levels to stabilize and improve the market. However, the amount of oil that Russia and Saudi Arabia pumped out of the ground in January was an all-time record high for a single month. So one fails to see how that stabilizes or improves anything. And did you ever see, especially if you're old enough like me to remember 1973, the oil embargo, a headline like this? The United States is literally running out of places to put oil. There are some empty swimming pools in California maybe we could use. Last Friday, an historic event, the Pope and the head of the Russian Orthodox Church met in Havana, Cuba. Pope Francis and Patriarch Kirill signed a joint declaration saying that the Roman Catholic and Russian Orthodox churches are not rivals, but brothers, and urging members of those two religions to work together and live in harmony with one another. This is historic because this was the first meeting of a pope and a patriarch in almost 1,000 years. This is the Pope's Jubilee year for mercy, as we've mentioned before on this program, and to take that message around the world, a special hand-picked group of super confessors are being deployed across the entire planet. 1,142 specially appointed super confessors heading to all points on the globe to hear confessions of sins normally considered so grave that only the Pope can forgive them and offer absolution. Now, biblically, we know that the only unforgivable sin is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, as when the Pharisees accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebul, Baal the prince, considered the prince of demons under Jewish cosmology. Since the 12th century, under Roman Catholic doctrine, Catholics who committed a reserved sin had to have their cases reviewed by a special tribunal at the Vatican, who made recommendations to the Pope about what sort of appropriate penance was to be prescribed. And by the way, penance is also another non-biblical doctrine. Well, elsewhere in Europe, love definitely not in the air, especially for Muslims. A female leader of the anti-immigration group Pegida, based out of Dresden, Germany, says Muslims should be shot and burqas outlawed. Tatiana Festerling, deputy leader of Pegida, said Europeans should forget about decency where Muslims are concerned, saying if we don't grab our pitchforks and fight the Islamization of Europe, we are lost. She said the burqa should be banned. That's the headscarf worn by women. Radical mosques closed. Now, in context, she didn't say that Muslims should be shot as a first option. She did suggest that migrants should register with police, ultimately to be deported. But if they continue crossing the border after the borders are closed, then shoot them, which is still pretty extreme. But what is happening in Europe is not as much about seeking asylum as it is a slow-motion invasion. In Phoenix, maybe not an invasion, but perhaps neighbors that not everybody is happy about. The city council there had been debating for weeks about how to deal with a request from the Satanic Temple. You remember the group, we've talked about them before. It's headed up by an atheist from Detroit named Doug Mesner, who's figured out how to use the Christian concepts of tolerance against Christians to get Jesus removed from the public square. The city council in Phoenix did what Mesner and his colleagues had hoped, and by a 5-4 vote, the city council henceforth will open meetings with a moment of silence rather than prayer. Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton said that trying to silence a particular religious group could land the city in a very expensive lawsuit. See, even though legal precedent is that opening government meetings with a word of prayer is not in violation of the First Amendment, controlling the content of those prayers in favor of one group, religious group, over another would possibly. So you got to admire Doug Mesner. He's figured out how to use Christian tolerance against Christians. And frankly, he's not the only one. We can expect more of the same in the years ahead. And a couple of bizarre stories to wrap up today. Another disembodied foot has washed up on the coast in the Pacific Northwest. This has been happening over and over since 2007. 16 feet in all in British Columbia and Washington State, most of them right feet, and all of them inside running shoes or hiking boots, including, if you're keeping score, 3 New Balances, 2 Nikes, and an Ozark Trail. The most recent turned up early last week on Vancouver Island. Now, the coroner in British Columbia said the exact model of shoe on the foot had gone onto the market after March of 2013, so we know this is a relatively recent disappearance. There's been all kinds of speculation as to where these feet are coming from. Natural disaster? Some suggested the 2004 Fukushima tsunami. Serial killers, organized crime, dumping bodies out in the ocean. 2 of the feet have been positively identified. They came from people who were known to have a history of mental illness. 3 others were linked to people who died of natural causes. And we know that the action of water on a decaying body tends to disarticulate the bones, so it's not unusual that the feet washed up. In other words, they weren't necessarily severed from the leg. It may have happened naturally. But the big question that no one's been able to answer is, why were none of these discovered prior to 2007? 'Tis a puzzlement. And in South Carolina, a woman has been charged with murder, accused of strangling her mother with an extension cord. 45-year-old Paula Anderson called police early last Monday morning, said she was having a mental breakdown and that she had killed her mother. Police found the older woman on a bedroom floor with a brown extension cord around her neck. Anderson told police that ghosts said they'd kill her if she didn't kill her mother first. Now, remember, there is no evidence that God allows human spirits to hang around on earth waiting to fulfill unfinished business. The only example in the Bible, 1 Samuel chapter 28, when the spirit of Samuel returns with a message from God for Saul. You're going to lose to the Philistines today, and you and your sons will be with me by tonight, or by tomorrow. But that's a special exemption. No other incident in the Bible that we know of indicates that ghosts are a regular occurrence. And if God does allow them to return with a specific message, it is certainly not going to be hurt someone or hurt yourself. So just remember this. If you or anyone you know is hearing voices saying to commit violence against themselves or other people, it's not ghosts, it's demons. In fact, that's why we think this week's program, SkyWatch TV, is so important. The Reverend Dr. Robert Bennett has written 2 books on the subject of demonic possession and demonic oppression, spiritual warfare. I Am Not Afraid, and Afraid, Demonic Possession and Spiritual Warfare in America. SkyWatch TV airs on 3 networks now. The Cornerstone Television Network, Wednesdays at 3:30 p.m. All these times are Central Time, by the way. Cornerstone Television Network, Wednesdays at 3:30 p.m. The Victory Television Network, Mondays at 8:30 p.m., Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m., Saturday, this coming Saturday, 3:30 p.m., and of course the Christian Television Network, Tuesday evenings at 8:30 p.m., Saturday at 7:30 p.m., and this week's program featuring Dr. Robert Bennett discussing his books Afraid, Demonic Possession and Spiritual Warfare in America, and his first book, I Am Not Afraid. And as we've said, of course, television time is, well, it costs. And so your financial support is very important to us at SkyWatch TV. As our thank you to you for your support during the month of February, this resin cross looks like stone, stands 8 inches tall, and carries the message of the gospel, John 3:16. That's our gift to you for your financial support in any amount during the month of February while supplies last. You'll find instructions on how to donate posted at skywatchtv.com. And if you haven't yet, please remember that SkyWatch TV is asking for your help in the 2016 Telly Awards. It's the 37th annual Tellys, and the documentary film produced by SkyWatch TV and Defender Films, Inhuman, The Next and Final Phase of Man Is Here, has been nominated. And there is a People's Choice category, and that's where we're asking for your help. There's a link at the very top of the website, skywatchtv.com. Follow that link to the website for the Telly Awards and rate the movie Inhuman. And we appreciate your help and your support. Help us to get the word out about the transhumanist movement through your support of the film Inhuman, The Final Phase of Man Is Here. And of course, you can also help us just by clicking the mouse. Here's where you find SkyWatch TV on the internet, our website, our Twitter feed, our Facebook page, and of course, subscribe at our YouTube channel. And then share those things around to your friends and colleagues. And when I get motivated and find a couple spare minutes, I'll post things here, Twitter, Facebook, and my website. And my email address, always open for your comments and suggestions, dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.